My name's Pete Moore, and I work mainly in pain self-management these days. And today I'm going to be talking to you a bit about what pain management is and how it works, etc. Just a little bit of a brief overview of me, really, just in case you don't know who I am. I used to be a patient actually, but now I'm a person again. I became a person again back in '96 when I attended a pain management program in London called Input. But before then, I was pretty much one of those people that were around the system. Really, I didn't work for 7 years and cost the taxpayer about 350k. People now at the Department of Works and Pensions, they told me that'd be more like about just over $500,000. But I've been back at work. The good news is I've been back at work since 2000, and guess how many days I've had off sick? None, because I've actually become a self-manager of my pain. Have I still got pain today? Yeah, I've still got pain today, but I self-manage it by stretching, exercising and stuff like that. And mainly work as an educator now, and I tend to write things, and just of late really I've been making videos that mainly promote training of pain self-management, not only for people with pain but also healthcare professionals. Funny enough, I seem to be doing more workshops these days for educating healthcare professionals about pain self-management. And I've got a little job down at the UCL in London on a program there called Emotion and Pain. There's a link there if you want to look at it. And a couple of years ago, someone in there, I don't know why, in their thoughts, they said that they'd make me the pain champion in the UK. But I don't really go on that. Let's move on from that. Oh, by the way, yeah, I'm a member of the British Pain Society and also the International Association of Study of Pain. And the good-looking fellow underneath the blue square, there's me. And that's a picture of me when I go out to Austria a couple of times a year and teach at the Austrian Pain School and the European Pain School. So let's have a look what we're going to be covering today, really. It's a little bit of an overview of pain, how it affects people. We'll be looking at a really good, useful resource called a video called Understanding Pain and What to Do About It in Less than 5 minutes. It's a really good resource for not only people with pain but also healthcare professionals. But as I say, I'll be looking at the 10 top tips actually for GPs, because as we all know that GPs are probably at the front desk really, especially when people are reporting pain or in primary care. So there's some 10 top tips from another GP called Dr. Tim Williams. We'll have a little look at those. Well, we're looking at also what's the benefits of self-management, and we'll be talking about teamwork, which is probably a really important thing to talk about, because you know, it's not a one-way street. People with pain and also healthcare professionals, we need to work together as a team if there's going to be really good outcomes. I'll be talking to you a little bit more about the Pain Toolkit, how it's been helping people, how it came around, and what is it, what do we do with it, and how it's helped people over the years. And you can see that I've been starting to do some new things around Pain Toolkit quizzes and a new online ball game. But I'll be talking to you also about another website I'm starting up soon called Pain Tips, which is going to be very visual. And at the end there will be, you can ask me anything you like. Don't ask me for any money though, because I ain't got any. So let's move on. Is pain a big problem in the UK? Yes, it is. It's quite massive, really. Here's some facts here from the Chronic Pain Policy Coalition, a name that doesn't actually roll off the tongue there easily. But there's approximately about 14 million people now in the UK live with pain. Back pain alone there costs the economy about 12.3 billion a year. And yeah, a lot of people, I think they forget this, that a lot of people with pain, 69% become anxious and depressed living with pain. They're, at the bottom there, it says there doesn't seem to be a national strategy as there is in other countries. And that's one thing I'm really trying to move on at the moment. This morning, actually, I came across the American site via the American Chronic Pain Association, and they just launched their Australian pain strategy, and I mean it looks really simple and quite effective, really. How they're going to tackle the millions of people they've got there who live with persistent pain. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So when does pain become chronic or persistent? You know, guys, I'm not big a fan of the word chronic, because to people with pain, chronic means life-threatening, never-ending, never going to go away. So I tend to use the word chronic. I tend to use the word persistent. So persistent pain is a pain that lasts longer than 3 months. It doesn't respond to the usual medical treatments. As we all know, when we go and see the GP or we visit a pain clinic, what they tend to do is try and sort out the pain via medication and injections, and really, they're, for some people they're useful, but for the majority of people that who take medication, their long-term effects are not that great, really. But the quote there at the bottom of the slide there, I'm afraid you have chronic or long-term pain, you have to learn to live with it. That's one I get told that many times over a week or a month, where people just get frustrated, where I think the doctors come to they feel like they've used up all their tools in their toolkit, and they just say to the people, the patients that come along to see them, is that you've got to learn to live with it. But the problem is they don't actually tell them or support them on how they can do that. So this is quite a nice little slide. This is a slide I used with both people with pain, but also healthcare professionals. And pain is like people with pain will go and see the healthcare professional, and the pain actually becomes really just the tip of the iceberg, because the main, when you've had pain for longer than 3 months, there's bigger problems that actually supersede the pain, and these are the ones here. These are the quite common ones that people tell me: sleep problems, money worries, medication side effects, feeling low, stress, and relationship worries. These are pretty much the main ones, but there's also other ones. You'll see them when we look at the pain cycle later on. But so when people go to see the pain doctor or the GP, they're looking to try and fix the pain, but really, sometimes there's not a lot you can do about the pain, but I think they've got more of a better chance if they were to start helping people with sleep problems, etc., or looking at their medication and perhaps looking at how they're feeling, how they can deal with all these difficult emotions and stuff like that. So, as I say, pain is only it becomes a minor part of the problem in the end, but they're trying to fix the pain. But I think a lot of healthcare professionals, they will stand a better chance if you deal with the stuff below the waterline, the bigger part of the iceberg there. They'll find that the actual pain itself starts to reduce anyway. Okay, this is just going to show you. With people with pain, we're really tricky people to deal with, and I know that I was a very tricky customer. But and it's a way they need to hear a message that sort of buys them into that the people that they're seeing. This is a slide I use for healthcare professionals, and so they need to ask the patients that they see these 3 questions, because the patients will then think, well, hang on a second, I've got this guy's or this doctor, he's got a really good idea of what I'm actually going through. So if you ask anybody with pain, you should ask them, do you do more on good days or less on bad days? Are you an overachiever, doing more than you have to? And are you a people pleaser? Do you find it hard, do you have a problem saying no to others who ask you to do things? If you ask them to any people with pain, and you know what, if you ask these same questions to people with actual general long-term conditions, they'll look at you and think, how the hell do you know that? I often get tired, how the hell do you know that? Are you a mind reader? But these seem like the 3 traits that we seem to get, they seem to be our main 3 traits that we have to deal with. And when we start dealing with these, start making changes in our life, we start moving on and managing our pain and our lives better. So a lot of people feel trapped in a persistent pain cycle, and this cycle looks a little bit like this. This is one we use in the Pain Toolkit. It's quite a familiar cycle. When I show this to a lot of patients, they go, oh my God, it's like looking in a mirror. And because at the top there they can see that they live with persistent pain, and then they become less active, they lose their fitness, get weak muscles, their joints start to stiffen, they start creating these lists. Well, I used to do that, but I can't do that anymore, so they start writing no-go lists. Yeah, it's one of the biggest ones here, sleep problems, they get tired, fatigued, pain really, really just tires you out. They become stressful, fearful, anxious, frustrated and angry about the things that you used to do but can't do anymore. And then we've got our old mate here, the medication side effects. I met a lady last year up in Newcastle, and I was like talking, it looked like she'd had a few actually, but it wasn't that she'd had a few, it was that she's on 27 pills a day. And a poor devil, she was just struggling just to be on planet Earth, really. But I said, do you want to take all these pills? She said, no, I want to get off the medication. But it just seems that they was giving him with even more medication to counteract the effects of the medication that they prescribed already. So if you ask most people with pain, about all the medication they take, they say they don't really want to take it. But this feels like this is all the healthcare professionals. That's all they got in their armoury. And we go on to where people can gain weight or they can lose weight, and then we start looking at the negative thinking, fear of the future. Why me? What the hell's going to happen to me in the future? And this is quite a close cousin now of pain, the depression, the mood swings that we can get. I was watching a video this morning about Michael Clark, the cricketer who lives with pain. And he was saying in the video that, if he's having a really naff day, his family sort of, he's just like a bit of a bear with a sore head, really. So they're not most friendly people to be with, especially when we're having a setback or pain increases. And then we get time off work, money worries and relationship concerns and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a cycle that we get sort of stuck on for people with pain. And it's a little diagram in the middle there. This is where we're the overachievers. So on Monday we're trying to, we're flat out, and then all of a sudden, because we're doing too much, we end up on Tuesday there, same time, resting up, trying to manage our setback. This is quite a cycle that a lot of us get stuck on as well. It's called the boom and bust cycle. And if you look at the bottom there, it says increased pain. And for a lot of people, what we do is when we have increased pain, what we then do is we end up having to rest and recover. And then when we're feeling a little bit better, having a better day, we say to ourselves, you know what, I think I better catch up. I'm feeling a little bit better now. I better catch up with all the things that I've been unable to do. And so then you overdo it, and then you get increased pain, and then you just go around in this cycle. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but I was stuck in this cycle for about a good 2 or 3 years. And I always think that this cycle reminds me of the M25. And I always say to patients when I showed them this cycle, I say, what's the difference between the boom and bust cycle and the M25? Well, I always say, well, at least you can get off the M25. But when we're on this cycle, we don't really going to go anywhere. By the way, I don't know if you're familiar with the M25, but on a Friday night they call that the Road to Enlightenment. And the reason why they call it that is because you've got it stuck on there, so you actually start reflecting on your life. So that's why they call it the Road to Enlightenment. So does self-management work? Yes, it does. And there's the Health Foundation here. I won't go through them all. But loads of evidence there that when people are encouraged to self-manage, the evidence is there that it will reduce resources, save a lot of time for the NHS, etc. And the other day, my local, I was talking to someone on Twitter, actually, a GP, and she just said on Twitter that she just finished a stint in A&E. And I said to her, I just asked her how many people turned up at A&E with a long-term condition, including pain. And she said, well over half of them. And I said, well, why don't? She said, I said, why don't I go and see their, the GP, etc. She said one of the problems is they can't get an appointment, or they feel that when they go and see, when they go to A&E, they feel they're being seen by a proper doctor, but that's not always the case. So there's tons of evidence there that self-management works and people can just get on and move on with their lives. This is, the old mate said, I'm lucky I work with a couple of good GPs. This is one of them, Tim Williams from Sheffield, and he put together these slides here for his mates. And, you know, these are, you know, his 10 top tips. So if you want to, you can actually, if you want to go to the Pain Toolkit website, you can see the address there at the bottom left-hand corner of the slide. You go to resources, there's a little link there for healthcare professionals. And there's a video there of Dr. Tim actually explaining his 10 tips. I said to Tim a couple of years ago, I said, you know what, Tim, you're really weird, mate, because I said, I don't know a lot of GPs that actually like working with people with pain. And I said, what made you change like? And he said, well, he said, he said to me that, you know, he was getting it down, etc., because he, you know, whatever he was doing wasn't working because, you know, he said prescribe things, medication to patients, but they'd always end up coming back to see him again. And he thought, bloody hell, do I really need, you know, this is getting me down. And he said to his wife, I'm not sure if I want to be doing this. And he said, well, and he sort of come to the conclusion, he said, it's not them going to change, he said, it's me. So he had to change. So what he actually does now is he actually starts having that conversation with patients about finding out what they can do to help them move on. And now all his mates now at the surgery, they send him all the pain patients because he actually enjoys, you know, dealing with us. So that's a major plus. Wish we could have a few more Dr. Tims around, I know that. Okay, let's move on to, this is a fantastic resource for anybody that wants to learn about pain. If we all think lots of pain information is quite dull and uninteresting, but and I think a lot of people with pain, we're very visual learners anyway. But this is a really good video that came out about, well, it must be about 7 years ago, called the Understanding Pain and What to Do About It in Less than 5 minutes. And it was produced by the Aussies, the Hunter Integrated Pain Service down in Australia. They do some fantastic stuff down there, and it's a very simple video. And when I show this to patient groups, etc., you know, it just explains how pain works, but what you need to do about it. And you know, it's just in under 5 minutes, and it's a very simple, quick message. And also use this for when I'm teaching to healthcare professionals as well. There is another one that a German hospital did a couple of years ago called Understanding Pain and What to Do About It in Less than 10 minutes, and that's mainly aimed at younger people, which is quite a useful video to watch as well. All these videos, you can see them on the Pain Toolkit website. If you go to videos, click on the video link, you'll see a massive list there of all useful self-management videos that's for healthcare professionals and patients. Is the doctor supposed to fix the patient? Okay, this is me years ago when I had a little bit more hair, and you know, I spent about £8,000 looking around for a cure, and you know, there isn't one really. I suppose you know, someone said to me, you know what you need to do, Pete, you need to get yourself a mirror and have a look in there, because that's the bloke that's going to help you with your pain. And the other message I got years ago was, you know, you do too much talking, you want to take the cotton wool out of your ear rolls and shove it in your mouth. You need to learn to listen. And you know what, when I did start doing that stuff, things started to happen for me and move on. But a lot of people with pain, we're looking for, you know, for that magic bullet, magic pill that's going to take all the pain away. And you know, if you've got persistent pain, it's not about getting rid of it, it's about how we wind it down so we can just move on with our lives. So it puts us back in the driving seat, because at the moment a lot of people with pain's in the driving seat and we're the sort of passengers, and we need to swap seats. I saw this nice little fact a few years ago from one of the old strategic health authorities around. One of the ladies there shared this, and I quite like it because I think it's true that in you know, there's 8,760 hours in a year, but for on average, someone with a long-term condition will only actually see a healthcare professional for 3 hours. So for the other 8,757 hours, we've got to self-manage. You know, I can't come and move in with, you know, my GP. You know, we can't go and live with our healthcare professionals, so they, you know, they totally look after us. This is why the importance is that we need to learn how to self-manage. Sometimes that self-management don't always go that way. The main problem is poor communication. And I think sometimes, as I keep reminding the healthcare professionals when I'm teaching them, is that, you know, they've been taught, you know, we've never been to medical school, but a lot of them talk to us in a medical way, and it's a waste of time, really. So we've got to have that sort of good communication. We've got to have work as a team as well. Okay, I always like using this slide here because it gives me an opportunity to talk about the Arsenal. And for a lot of people know that I'm an Arsenal fan. I haven't been much of a big fan of late, but because we haven't been playing well. And the reason why we haven't been playing well is because we haven't been playing as a team. And but when we do play, when we like last weekend when we played Everton, we really played well because we worked as a team. Everybody was doing the right thing on the pitch. Now the same thing as well happens when we are working well with our healthcare professional, and when we work as a team, you know, there's only going to be one outcome, and that's a fantastic outcome. So the thing is, well, a lot of people say, well, I haven't got a good healthcare professional, or I haven't got this. It's all, you know, it's about finding another one. So you've got to find the right person that's going to work with you to help you move on. Now the thing is, do people want to change? And I'm quite aware, there's a lot of, I know people out there that if self-management was to come out the air and slap them around the face, they wouldn't recognise it. And I quite like this slide here, and it's a little bit of humour really. You know, some of us need a little bit of gentle persuasion. Sometimes it's about sowing seeds with us so that, then, you know, them seeds sort of germinate and we start to grow. But, you know, a little, you know, a bit of humour. I'm not asking you to change your spots, I'm just asking you to take out the rubbish, like, you know. It's like we feel that we need to make massive changes, but we don't really. It's about making, you know, pain management is about doing small steps, not making giant leaps and strides, etc. Small steps, and that, you know, keep moving forward. I'll go briefly now through the Pain Toolkit. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that it was going to be. So a little bit of a sip of water there. Never thought it was going to be this popular, really. It was started off a few years ago, and at the moment, there's to my knowledge about 850 printed copies out there. We just shipped off 80,000 over to Northern Ireland in Belfast. They love it over there. I was doing some workshops over there with healthcare professionals a couple of years ago, and people over there in Northern Ireland, and especially the healthcare professionals, they find it a really useful tool with their patients. And we've got different translations of it. We've got there's a Polish version, German, French, Italian, Portuguese, etc. The newer one is the Icelandic one. I mean, they just translated it, and this year, well, hopefully, there will be one in for Lithuanian, Danish, and Norwegian. And I had an email yesterday from a little organisation down in Malta. They want to do their own version as well, and want me to pop over there and do a couple of workshops for them as well. I've also adapted it for these other English-speaking countries like Australia, etc. There's also a couple of years ago I adapted it for teenagers, and we called it My Pain Toolkit. That seems to be quite popular, and I understand Great Ormond Street in London, they use it quite a lot. And for those people that aren't into reading booklets or whatever, on the website there's an animated version of the Pain Toolkit there as well. These are the 12 tools in the toolkit, and I always get asked which is the main tool really. Have a look, read it through, and then you've got acceptance there, that you've got pain and then move on, get involved, build a support team, pacing, learning to prioritise, plan out your day, setting goals, being patient with yourself, learn relaxation skills, stretching, exercising, keeping a diary, tracking your progress. When I talk about keeping a diary, I'm not talking about keeping a pain diary, how much pain are you in. I'm talking about, well, what worked, you know, what worked for you well in your self-management, and what didn't. Learn from that. So we don't talk about, you know, otherwise you're just focusing on the pain. having a setback plan, so when things ain't going quite well, you know, a little bit of a setback plan, so you've got it's like have a spare wheel on the top on a car, really. Teamwork again, working together as a team and keeping it up there. There's a little quote there from someone in Essex. They used it when they was seeing their oncologist. So the tool that seems a bit I always get asked about, what's the most important one? Well, it's not about what I think. We did some, we got evaluated a few years ago with the Bradford Hospital. Dr. Francis Cole I worked with, the GP up that way. We gave it out to about 1,000 patients, and these are the tools that they said they used the most, really. It was about acceptance, pacing, setting goals, and being patient with themselves. And to me, I think acceptance really is the main one, because as you get your head around that, you know, there's going to be a lot of speed bumps along the way. So once you get that, accept that you've got pain and then move on, everything starts to fall into place. How to use the toolkit, very simple, easy peasy lemon squeezy. 3-step guide, read the Pain Toolkit, show it to your partner, your friends, your work colleagues. Tick off or circle the 3 tools that you have the most problems with, show them to your GP or healthcare professional, again, your friends, your family, work colleagues, and say, look, these are the ones I want the most help and support with. And then once you feel confident of those 3 tools, just choose another 3 and repeat the process. It's really as simple as that, really. And what it does actually, it helps the person with pain actually start focusing on what help and support they need. Easy peasy. And I showed this to when I was teaching over in the European Pain School in September a couple of years ago. The Russians there who turned up, they love it as well, because they just find it's very easy for them to promote self-management over there in Russia, Moscow, etc. Earlier this year, later part of last year, we got a new Pain Toolkit app, very interactive. It's all very animated. We've got little animations again, and but the best part I like about the app as well is that it's an interactive app that you can work with your doctor or your nurse or etc. or anybody you nominate you want to share your information with. It's very, very visual. Honestly, I don't think we're going to make it any simpler. So it's something that if you want to use, some areas now, a lot of NHS organisations are buying it in, then people get given a token, or if your NHS organisation hasn't bought it in, then you can you download it. I think it's about $3.99. There's a link on the website. Okay, I know look at the time now, and I want to get some questions in from you guys, so I'm just going to sort of tie this bit up. I want to try and I'm trying to look at the future, really, and the more people I ask, they say they're very visual, and as I said before, a lot of pain management information is dull as dishwater, and to me, I want to try and make it as interesting as possible. So what I'm going to be doing on the Pain Toolkit site is to actually do some Pain Toolkit quizzes, make it a bit more fun, really. There'll be a leaderboard, and the thing is as well that we can see, well, what ones they didn't make, perhaps got right, and perhaps I could then sign your postage to other information. But it's a little bit of fun, be a bit of a leaderboard there as well. That'll be coming on soon. It's just being tested at the moment by some volunteers, but we hopefully want to get it up and running perhaps by then. Well, what's it now? Probably about a month's time, something like that. And also, there's an online board game, again, that's being tested at the moment with some volunteers. Again, very visual, fun to use, etc. A lot of people who have been testing it to date, they just love it. It's just, they can learn credits as a leaderboard. Again, it's a very visual way of learning how to manage pain. This is a new website I'm going to be starting up called the Pain Tips website. What's different? Well, why do you want to have a website, Pete? Well, on this Pain Tips, I just want it to be about tips. So there'll be interviews on there with people who successfully manage their pain, because I want to get some tips out there from others about how they manage their pain, so we can put those on the website. So it'll be very visual. There's going to be an online, very visual online pain management program that people can take part in. So there's going to be lots of videos. Again, there'll be some more quizzes, some pain tips quizzes, and also we're going to I'll adapt the Pain Toolkit game for pain tips as well. So that'll be a nice little something to look forward to. Again, that'll probably go live in the next couple of months. This is a little couple of slides I'd like to finish up with. It's I always say, especially when I speak to doctors, you know, which one am I sitting on the log like, you know. I don't know what it was. There was a guy, there was a doctor over in Northern Ireland a couple of years ago. He said I was on the end for some reason. I don't know why. But it's all about, you know, managing pain is about looking at things from a different perspective. So it's stop doing the same old things and start looking at things in a different way. And probably my favourite quote is this one. This is from this Sarah Henderson. She was an Australian lady. I come across this quote about 10 or so years ago. She's passed away now, but you know, she says that don't wait for the light to appear at the end of the tunnel. Drive down there and light the bloody thing yourself. And this is about it. Is really for people with pain. Sometimes we've got to start taking action to actually start moving on in life, and that's what I'm really passionate about now, is encouraging others to self-manage. You know, they don't have to sit at home just popping pills or thinking there's no future for themselves. Like, you know, a lot of people, they send me an email from a lady last night. You know, she's desperate. You know, taking loads of high medication, can't sleep. You know, she's only 62 years old. She's lost her job. You know, and people just getting to a poor, you know, these poor devils, mate. You know, as I was, you know, that's why I'm passionate, because I don't think anybody should be, you know, put into a situation where they just feel there's they can't see any future for themselves. So anyway, that's me for the time being. I know I'm always a great believer that people learn more from asking questions. So as people know me, I'm pretty direct. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you.
Oh, fabulous presentation. I didn't listen to all bar the first slide of it. So thank you, Peter. And I think there's a couple of things in my mind when you hear people talking so passionately and from a very personal perspective. And you know, nearly every one of your slides, you threw in a really nice story about who you've spoken to, who's in the same position. So there's something we've got to do around changing the conditions to enable this transformational change in approach to happen, because in a way pain is akin to loneliness, in that it can give additional impact to the individual of having an additional long-term condition like diabetes or cardiac disease, for example. So it's, I guess what I'd like to really try and see if we can do over the next 20 minutes or so through the questions and conversations with you, Pete, is just to understand what are the conditions we need to enable the change that you want to make happen, because you can't keep doing this on your own in isolation. It's got to be system-wide to make that change happen. And then the other thoughts I was having as I was listening to you is about the transition between healthcare settings. So when a person, you know, is admitted to hospital and then discharged back to the community, how we safely manage their pain during that transition, as well as their reason for admission. And then the two thoughts that pop into my head, which came from our ethnographic work around navigating health and care, which, you know, did some in-depth study into what it's like to live with multiple long-term conditions. One was hope, which I think was almost one of the last things that you said, Pete. You know, people need to have hope. And the other was around thriving rather than surviving. You know, and having a life that's worth living rather than just living and existing. So those, I mean, you've just demonstrated really powerfully from a pain perspective what we need to change throughout the whole of the system response. It's not just the NHS, it's not just social care, it's not just voluntary sector, it's not just us as communities. How do we make that system-wide change happen? So I'm not going to leave you on your own to answer all of that, Pete, but I don't know if you want to have a go at it, and then we'll bring Beth in to add her conversation into it.
I think really from a healthcare professional point of view, I think the change has got to happen in their med schools, because this is what I mean, I spent, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, I spent most of my time, it feels like I'm not retraining is a strong word actually, but unpick their thinking about how they manage pain, because they're taught to manage pain in a medical model. And that's okay if you've got an acute pain problem, but they seem to lack the knowledge and skills to support the patient to self-manage their pain. Everything. I think that one of the biggest problems that healthcare professionals seem to have is lack of time, and that's one of the things when I'm doing the workshops for healthcare professionals is I show them how they can support and promote pain management in a time-based appointment, and they really struggle with that. But that's what I tend to promote. When I actually explain it to them, they really get it, and they think, oh, okay, it's as easy as that, is it? So but the thing is, rather than having to keep unpick their sort of thinking right now, but actually we need to be teaching pain self-management when they're actually in med school and not when they've come out and qualified, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've tried to engage with social care, but I find it really nigh on impossible, really. But I can imagine there's similar problems there, really, where they lack the skills and I suppose confidence, really. Funny enough, a few doctors have said that to me over the years. They say, well, I want to do it, but I'm not sure if I've got the confidence skills to actually do that, you know. And I suppose the other thing as well with one thing they always say to me, the docs and the physios and OTs and whatnot, they say it's like they like when they hear what I'm saying. They said it's nice to hear it from a patient point of view. I'm not a medical person, like, you know. See, I'm not a medical bod, you know. I've never been to med school, but I just keep things dead simple, like, you know. And pain management really ain't that difficult at the end of the day. But you know, I see a lot of healthcare bods writing about it, and I think, oh, it's like reading a paper about how to make a rocket. You know, it's a nonsense, really. In pain management, pain self-management, it's not rocket science. It's what I call easy peasy lemon squeezy.
And I guess some of it as well is about spending time with people and understanding things from their perspective. And certainly one of your slides earlier on had a really neat graphic, I thought, which was really around, you know, how pain can accelerate if you also feel anxious. And trying.
As I said earlier on, we're visual learners, like, you know, a lot of people with pain, because pain's quick. See, with people with pain keeps grabbing our attention. So a lot of people with pain, we've got the attention span of a flea. So it's no good just keep dishing out leaflets and stuff like that, because we know a lot of it we just use them to light the fire with. So you need to keep it really simple and like use the you know, like the boom and bust cycle, the pain cycle, very visual things like that. I mean, a lot of there's some really good physios. A bloke called physio down in Kent called Mike Stewart. You know, he does a lot of sort of relearning a lot of these with these guys, a lot of physios. But again, he uses a lot of visual aids and stuff like that. That's what people with pain they like to see. Like the videos, there's these new videos I'm doing now, the pain tips videos. They're just like 2.5, 3 minutes long, but it's just very simple messages, snapshot messages that people can remember. Yeah. Stuff like that. It is as simple as that.
Okay, and let me just see if I can read out Beth's questions to everybody. Beth's not on audio line. Beth from Macmillan. And what she's thinking about is the support needs to be available in the community to enable you to self-manage. what tips do you have to those who plan services? For example, there are lots of new roles being tested: support workers, social prescribers, link workers, care navigators, which include a strong component of supporting people to self-manage. And what are your experiences of this? And do you have any top tips for service planners?
That's a really interesting question, really, because I talk to a lot of people, but I'm not sure, I think they struggle themselves, really, that they don't really understand what self-management is. I think they're still thinking that they've got to provide, keep showing people what to do, like, you know, and it's not about that, it's about just giving people information and so that they become self-learners.
Yeah.
You know, they've got to get out this truth, you know, like what we're going to do for you, and, you know, I mean, you know, people learn to drive, you know, and then that's it, off they go. You know, and you know, you learn the basics and you pass the test and that's it. But you don't keep going back all the time. You know, you might want to refresher perhaps, you know, if that's what you want to do. But most people just get on and they just drive for the rest of their life. It's the same thing with, you know, the same sort of principles really for people with pain. Really, it's just give them the tips, etc., and what to do, and then off they go. But it's about us becoming self-learners, and yeah, we might step up and fall over along the way, but that's the idea that we're learning as we go along.
And how do we engineer? So if we were to get the whole system turned on its head and the self-care, supported self-care, self-management, whatever we want to call it, how do we get that to be the default for the system rather than, so we had Renata Drinkwater presenting some of her work, and she had some evidence that it was, you know, 5 years before people were referred for self-care management, by which time, you know, we probably done some harm to what they were already able to self-care in.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's the expertise in place yet in primary care. Who, you know, I mean, you know, if you, well, you know more than me, but you know, I mean, how many self-management budgets are dedicated self-management budgets out there? There aren't, you know. All the NHS does. It keeps fighting fires all the time. So
if we were to go back to Beth's question then around, you know, we probably now have an environment or a landscape to work in where people are more receptive to understanding the impact both financially and emotionally and practically to people with long-term conditions around self-care. What are the 2 or 3 things that we need service planners to make sure is added into their service specs when commissioning their work?
Well, a dedicated budget, because I think a lot of them is self-management is just got a bit of an add-on really. And I'm always just, you know, to use this quote. I don't know, it's not one of my quotes. I think I saw it, but I always like it. It's self-management shouldn't be the last resort. It should be your first choice.
Yeah. And
the thing is, why do all these people end up in A&E? With long-term conditions is because they're not getting their needs met in a primary care setting. So in primary care there needs to be a dedicated budget for self-management, and also there should be a dedicated person who is driving a self-management agenda.
And also maybe have it as a little bit of an inherent part of everybody's skill set. To actually ask questions, you know, motivational interview techniques, you know, are fabulous ways of asking a question around weight loss or alcohol, you know, in a way that empowers the individual rather than criticises.
Yeah, I mean, just, yeah, what you know, we call them Columbo questions. You ever seen Columbo?
Yes,
yeah. How does he get information out of people? We call them, you know, he plants a question and he comes back at them again and all that. We call them Columbo questions. You know, but it's just working as a team with the patient, really. You know, a lot of these poor devils are rattling around the system out there. I mean, as I say, I cost the taxpayer nearly you know, these days would be over £500,000. It's a nonsense, like, you know. So it's getting let all people rattle around the system so long.
Okay, well, let's just bring a couple of others in who are allies of yours, I'm sure, and advocates of self-care. But firstly, Katie Clark-Day who is, I don't know if you know Katie, but somebody I've been working with over the last 6 to 9 months, who has just such a brilliant perspective, even down to writing letters with a consultant, of changing it and how we could, you know, if we could just morph that approach and that system, then I think we could be onto something really good. Katie, are you there?
I am.
Hello, welcome.
Hello. I should say a million things. I'm 20 years a pain patient myself. The last 10 I've been in chronic daily pain. And I think that highlights your first problem, is that it took me 10 years to get a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Because pain is the most invisible of symptoms. Doesn't show up on a blood test, doesn't show up on an X-ray. It just is there. And I think that tip of the iceberg really resonates the image, and it sort of stands to a lot of the work that I'm doing at the moment. I'm working with patients who've got the same condition as me, exploring all of those things that sit under the ice, under the water.
Yeah.
How life is affected. And for me, with my condition, there is no way that there's anything I can do to control the pain. It's technically, according to the medical professionals, the worst pain condition known to man. So for me, managing it is living with it and having an existence alongside it.
Yeah. It's like an unwanted passenger in your life, isn't it?
It is, and I have daily conversations with my owner.
Yeah.
Going to do this today if you behave, and then tomorrow you're in.
It's like one of the relatives turning up from Australia.
Yeah.
They never go, do they?
Mother-in-law's illness.
Mother-in-law turns up and they never leave.
And I think that's kind of, I really like everything you've done. It really resonates. Yeah. A lot of the images were stood out so much for me. And I think it is really important because they haven't got the time to manage all that stuff under the water, the impact on your employment, on your relationships, on your financial stability and security.
Yeah.
But the one thing that's kind of niggling with me is kind of the umbrella term pain. I've been turned away from and rejected from a number of pain management courses, what were traditional pain management courses, because my condition doesn't fit in. It doesn't fit the program. And I'm sure that we're not the only condition that's the case for. And I would like to see...
Drop me a line, Katie.
Definitely, yeah. That's it. Don't worry, the email address is already jotted down.
Just do a bit of schmoozing, baby.
I think it's really important that people... They are medically trained. I taught medical students. I tried my hardest to teach them empathy and compassion, but they haven't got the time a lot of the time. But maybe if we become more empowered to take control and handle the things in our life that we can handle, the doctors will have more time to dedicate to the pain itself.
Yeah.
And the pain will be easier for them to treat as well because it becomes clearer. It's not in a big pile of rubbish with the rest of the problems that we have. I think it's just really important that this type of program is accessible to everybody that has long-term pain problems. And I will be emailing you.
All right, go and we'll have a chat. All right, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think we're starting a little action learning setup here, which is very exciting. So can I, thank you, Katie, always really helpful and absolutely spot on the points. That's really good. Can I introduce Lynn Craven into the conversation?
Oh, no,
you may well know, yes, yeah. Lynn, are you there?
My thoughts are that it's the people who live with the pain or the long-term condition every day for those 8,760 hours of the year. And it's about looking to them to be trained as trainers so people who are good at self-managing train the people that are not so good to become more activated, to become more effective self-managers.
Exactly.
You know, we've been talking about this for so long. It hasn't taken hold somehow. We are the experts, and how many of us are floundering around with no jobs, and we could be saving money. So that's my 2 pennyworth anyway. Just use us more.
The thing with the actually the thing is there's 14 million people approximately with pain in the UK, and the last time I checked there isn't 14 million pain healthcare professionals. You know, so it's not like you know, you can't have a terracotta army of healthcare professionals who are tuned up for pain, like, you know. So really, it's not, they haven't got a choice anymore now. We need to do more self-management. I remember who was the guy who used to be the self-care minister, what was it, social care minister?
Paul Burstow.
Paul Burstow. I always remember listening to a video of him a couple of years ago. And he said, I think it was either with the King's Fund or a Health Foundation, I can't remember, he said, unless we get our heads around the long-term conditions, people with long-term conditions will bankrupt the NHS. And I think he's dead right.
Mm.
So I think that it's not about choice anymore, Bev. I think it's about, you haven't got the last chance. I think it's either do or die really now. So people need to start learning to self-manage, or as Paul says, we'll bankrupt the NHS. They ain't going to get any better.
And I think the majority of people, certainly our ethnography showed that out, and I think your conversations show that out. I know Lynn and Katie and I have spoken as well. So there is a large group of people who actually want to self-manage. You know, it's not as if we're trying to impose a concept that is alien and uncomfortable. It actually is where they start. So there is just something about creating those conditions for enabling that to happen. Mm. And the financial savings, can come with it. I just want to read to you what Beth has, Beth responded to your thoughts about her, and she said, it's a good point. It's not about telling people what to do, but creating the conditions for them to learn and manage as experts themselves. But it does feel like there is some support infrastructure that is needed to enable access to information and ongoing support when it's needed. And I think that's some of it, isn't it? Is that, when you're in an environment where you're feeling supported and enabled, but then, when you go home and just even the connections to something, whether, again, in our ethnography work, there was a gentleman who was really struggling with his diabetes management, and it was us who put him in touch with Diabetes UK. His system had not done that for him, yet the best response he's had was from somebody who was feeling exactly the same as him, and it made him feel like what he was feeling was okay to feel and normal to feel, and he could almost compartmentalise it then and start looking at, what he really could worry about instead of everything becoming huge in his mind.
I'll ask you a question. Which is the biggest support group organisation globally that has a self-management program attached to it? AA.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They've been doing it since the 1930s. Again, it's a worldwide concept. They've got their own self-management program attached to it called the 12 Steps.
Yeah.
And it's a global. And how many healthcare professionals run it?
None. So if they can do it, we can do it. Well, you'll be pleased to know I last week was appointed to a post of delivery lead for self-care from the 1st of April. So we probably can start to work with the NHS England team, because their ambition is to really put self-management right at the forefront, right at the centre, and be the default for healthcare management. So I think if there ever was a time for self-care next year, from the 1st of April, we've got to make it be this time.
I think, I think the good news, to finish on a good point, I think that the actual self-management concept is actually taken off in the last 12 months. There's something, where it's sort of underneath the bed sheets. I think it's on top of the bed now. And I think it's some exciting times ahead. But, as you said, there's we're, at the moment we're a small family, but we need to start making, getting other people on board, and the decision makers don't make it a second choice, but be the first choice in healthcare.
And I think, the strongest thing that, in your slides, and there's so much power in them, but, it is about team players. And we've got to work across organisations as teams, and just to feed back your football analogy. So I'm from Hereford, and they've just qualified to go to Wembley. So,
well done.
Yes, in a way, anything is achievable if you work together as a team, and it's because they've started really focusing on what it is they're about. So I think we've come to the end of our time, Pete, and I think, we've been a little while waiting to do this one, so I'm delighted we've managed to squeeze it into this financial year's programme. So just to thank our audience for staying with us and going with the flow on the conversation and contributing to it, because I think it's really important. But Pete, I just want to leave the last word with you around, there's always ambitions of what you can do and how we can make things different in the future. But there's equally, what can we do now? What can we do today? And so what do people, when they come off this call, need to start thinking about?
For us, the working self-management lane, it's all about working together as a team. So we're a small family, but create little, set some goals, but then break them little goals up into action plans, because sometimes the goals that we got can look a bit too large, but just keep moving forward and find out the can-do people where you work, because it's no good talking, wasting your time and energy on people that really don't understand it. But I know that I can guarantee you there are people who work in your local NHS or social care who are the can-do people. Work with those guys, and then it speeds you up a little bit, and we can get the job done a little bit quicker. Have fun. That's the one. I tell you, I learned from the Germans years ago. Go to work and have fun. So don't forget to have fun when we're doing this job in self-management.
Brilliant. I think we'll call it a day on that point. Let's all go to work and have fun. That's brilliant, Pete. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for your time in preparing for today. That's really brilliant. And thank you, everybody, for joining us, and have a lovely afternoon.
Thanks very much for the invite.